Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I am Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, let's talk about something funny.
Let's do that.
One of the funniest movies ever made.
Yeah.
One of the most quotable movies ever made. Also, one might say one of the dumbest movies ever made.
One might say that. One might say it's dumber than many movies.
Perhaps. But yeah, let's talk about Dumb and Dumber.
I'm excited about this. Not just because I love this movie, but it's been a while since we've done as straight up comedy.
Yes, it has. And
this is a classic.
This is a classic. It's one of Jim Carrey's early movies. It's one of the movies that shows Jeff Daniels' range.
It does.
If you look at this and then you look at his other movies, it's just he can do anything. Jeff Daniels is an extremely underrated actor.
He's a very underrated actor. How has he not been nominated for an Oscar yet?
That is an excellent question. He deserves one.
I know he's got some Emmy stuff, but yeah, come on. Give him another good role. He needs an Oscar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. He definitely
it's
deserves
funny,
it.
This was, Jim Carrey, this is 1994. He had 3 big movies in 1994.
Yeah.
Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, it was a big year for him.
Ace Ventura is what really put him on the scene for me, being 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But people that knew In Living Color would have known who Jim Carrey was.
Yeah, I saw Ace Ventura in the theater with my mom. Just me and my mom.
That might have been awkward.
It's probably not a movie that a 9-year-old should see with their mom. Or a 10-year-old should see with just their mom.
Yeah, well, I remember watching this with my parents. And I saw it in the theater too. And I see it with my parents or someone else's. And I just thought of Ace Ventura being that gross out movie and not thinking about that aspect of it's an awkward movie to watch with your mom when you're 10.
Yeah.
But then The Mask came out and The Mask was different. The Mask was very different and channeled a lot of Jim Carrey's strengths. At the end of the year, it was Dumb and Dumber. And I remember thinking at the time, it's oh, wow, it's another Jim Carrey movie. I should go see that because he's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, most Jim Carrey movies I didn't see until they came out on video. There are only a handful of them that I saw in theater.
Okay.
Ace Ventura. I saw that in the theater. I saw The Truman Show in the theater.
I did not see The Truman Show in the theater.
I think that might be the last one that I saw in the theater. The Truman Show. I think it was just those two. The rest of them I didn't see till they came out on video.
Okay. Well, The Truman Show is a different type because
it's different. It's one of his more
comedy.
Yeah,
but then you realize no, this is a serious movie.
Yeah, it's a more dramatic role
elements
for him.
To it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's much more of a dramatic performance from him. And then Jim Carrey is one of those actors. He has some range too.
Yes.
Everybody thinks of him as this funny guy, but you got Truman Show, you got The Majestic, you got
The Majestic,
Eternal
Man on the Moon,
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless
Mind. And then he even got into some kind of horror type movies like The Number 23.
Mm-hmm.
And then recently he's been in Sonic, where it's funny, but he's a villainous funny.
Yeah.
Right? Well, yes, he did that with Batman Forever, but very different as the Riddler. 94 was a busy year for him.
Yes, it was.
It was also kind of I guess this is really the first kind of the breakthrough for the Farrelly brothers.
Yeah.
It was their debut. Yeah. And it's funny. They started off really strong because the next movie they made was Kingpin, which is also very good. And the biggest hit was Something About Mary, came after that. And they worked with Jim Carrey again with Me, Myself, and Irene, which was a decent movie. Not great, but it did well. Decent. And then after that was Shallow Hal.
Then they had Stuck on You.
And
which
that's where it started kind of...
It's not as remembered as fondly as the rest of them.
But then, oddly enough, Peter Farrelly decided, I'm going to make a drama. It's going to have Viggo Mortensen in it and Mahershala Ali and Linda Cardellini. And it's basically going to be a remake of Driving Miss Daisy. And it's going to win an Oscar. And it did win an Oscar. Won Best Picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was out of left field, a Farrelly brother making Oscar bait.
Yeah.
And it worked. I have not seen Green Book, by the way.
I haven't either.
I know there are some cinephiles that really hate that it won Best Picture, but I can't say. I haven't seen it. I didn't really want to see it.
Me neither.
Because I saw Driving Miss Daisy as much as I love Morgan Freeman. And I don't mind Jessica Tandy or Dan Aykroyd, who is also in that movie.
Yes, he is.
I did not care much for Driving Miss Daisy.
I didn't either. I saw Driving Miss Daisy a long, long time ago. And I did not care much for it. I was a kid when I saw it, so.
I was in 7th grade and I read the play, Driving Miss Daisy.
Okay.
We watched the movie in English class in 7th grade.
Yes. Watching movies that you're forced to watch in school always leaves you with a bitter taste in your mouth for them. Now, if they're fun movies like Gladiator...
I would bring The Rock in high school and just wait for the substitute to come. Like, can we watch The Rock? It worked sometimes.
I did that sometimes. I would bring a movie in every once in a while and be like, hey, can we watch this? Did that with
Debbie Does Dallas.
No. I did that with Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
All right, yeah.
And then I also did it with the 66 Batman.
Ah, that's an interesting one there.
Yep.
Anyway, it's back to Dumb and Dumber. So, 1994, big year for Jim Carrey. And again, Jeff Daniels, okay. So for me, I was excited seeing that Jeff Daniels in this because for Father's Day, we went to see Speed. Which has Jeff Daniels.
It was the same year. This was the same year as Speed, 1994. Two completely different characters.
Yes.
Two completely different characters.
And I had yet to see Arachnophobia, which has another very different character.
Yes.
So kudos to your range, Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
We salute you. There's also Terry Garr in this movie who was in Tootsie.
Maybe one of these series that we do should be a Jeff Daniels series. We would just do several Jeff Daniels movies in a row.
I know we want to do Speed.
Yes. And we've talked about doing Arachnophobia.
No, we also want to do Arachnophobia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was in Gettysburg also. The funny thing about this, we talked about in our Dante's Peak episode how the late 90s also featured the animal playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently, I didn't realize this, but he was in an animated movie that had animals in space. Space Chimps.
He was in Space Chimps.
Yes. We're not going to do Space Chimps, by the way. I don't expect that. I know we say that sometimes we will do some of the worst movies ever made. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I don't have any strong feeling that we should do Space Chimps.
I don't either. I mean,
we have done Looper. So we've already done one of his movies.
Yes,
Looper.
But real quick, with Space Chimps, when that came out, all I could think of is, do you remember the show in the 90s? There was a cartoon called Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys.
No, but if I saw stuff about it, I might remember it.
Yeah, like the intro to the show, like it went through the credits and everything, and it's like, Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Yeah, it's basically Space Chimps. It's monkeys in space. But yeah, I enjoyed that cartoon when I was a kid.
Okay.
And so yeah, when Space Chimps came out, that's all I could think of was Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. And I've often wondered how many people actually remember that show.
Yeah, no, it doesn't ring a bell, but
because it is not a popular one from the 90s. So if there is anybody out there who's listening who remembers Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys, let us know.
26 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not very long-lived.
It is available on Amazon Freevee and Tubi.
Ooh, maybe I'll have to watch it again and see
check it out, and I will let you know.
Holds up.
I will let you know if I saw any of this. I'm intrigued.
All I remember is Captain Simeon would say ASAP a lot. Like ASAP, like as soon as possible, he'd say ASAP. He's like, I want it done ASAP. And so every time I hear somebody say ASAP, I think of Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. So I think about that show a lot more than your average person would. It's just there are a lot of things that remind me of it. Yes, there were action figures.
Made action figures.
I wanted the action figures for it. I didn't have them though. But yeah, it was pretty big in my formative years. That obviously, if I'm reminded of it a lot, 30 some odd years later.
Interesting. Well, but I did not realize that there would be a hidden gem of a 90s series brought up during this Jeff Daniels episode.
Either. All because Jeff Daniels was in Space Chimps.
So, Terry Garr's in this also.
Yes.
She has a small role in this, but she was bigger earlier before this movie. And she received an Oscar nomination for Tootsie, famous Dustin Hoffman movie, and Bill Murray. And I was just reminded that she sadly passed away back in October.
That's right, she did.
Lauren Holly was in this. He will end up at one point getting married to Jim Carrey.
Yes.
That did not last very long, but they were married. She auditioned for a role in Ace Ventura. She did not get it, but she got this role. And
she just really wanted to work with Jim Carrey.
Karen Duffy is in it as well.
So is Mike Starr.
I would say Mike Starr, who I will always think of for basically a couple of different roles. This role.
Yep.
In Goodfellas.
Okay.
Where he plays Frenchie.
Mike Starr, I don't know why, but I always get Mike Starr confused with Danny Aiello.
Yes. Very similar. I get it. I totally get it. It's funny. And you look at Mike Starr, like, he's got a huge filmography. Like, yeah,
he's in a lot of stuff.
You go through, like, he doesn't do it, like, it's more recently. He hasn't been as many movies that people probably are as familiar with. Just looking quickly, because he's so active. The most recent movie people would know would be Bad Santa 2, where he played one of the Santas. But he's also been on a lot of TV shows. Like, he was on an episode of Home Improvement. He was on an episode of Frasier, News Radio, Millennium, Grace Under Fire. Oh, that's right. He was a regular on Ed. I forgot about that. Joan of Arcadia, NCIS. He had a string of episodes on The Young and the Restless, if you were into the daytime soaps. Chicago Fire, Ray Donovan, The Blacklist. But the other role that I always think of, but I haven't always associated with him, was an Uncle Buck.
Huh.
And there is the clown that shows up for the birthday.
Yeah, okay.
The clown is drunk. And that is him.
That is him. That's good old Mike Starr.
That is Mike Starr. So he's under a lot of makeup, obviously, in a clown costume.
Then we have Victoria Rowell, who...
Yes.
I have really only really recognized her from one other thing other than this, and that is a show that we mentioned briefly back in the Mighty Ducks episode. She was one of the main characters on Diagnosis Murder.
Ah.
And I used to watch that show all the time with my mom.
Okay.
So yeah, she would run around with Dick Van Dyke and help him solve murders.
Yeah.
And she has a small role in this movie as the FBI agent that's been following them.
I did not realize she was on that. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Charles Rocket. If you're familiar with early 80s Saturday Night Live, he was on there for a couple seasons.
Yep.
He was also in Hocus Pocus. I know some people find that as one of their favorite 90s movies. I do not. I think it's terribly overrated.
I agree.
I did not like it as a kid. I watched it again in college. I did not like it then. I tried to watch it again in my 30s and did not like it then.
Yeah, I agree. I've never actually seen it all the way through, but what I have seen of it, I'm not really all that impressed. So, sorry if we have a bunch of Hocus Pocus fans listening. You know, it's great that you love it. Awesome, more power to you. But yeah, it's not our cup of tea.
The other role I kind of remember from, it's interesting. I used to watch a lot of Touched by an Angel.
Mm-hmm. I did too. Again, I watched it with my mom.
So most people would remember Andrew as the Angel of Death.
Yes.
Touched by the Angel. But there was a second Angel of Death on that show.
There was.
Adam, played by Charles Rocket.
Yep.
So there's that. The other person I want to bring up that's also in this movie is Harlan Williams.
I was just about to bring him up too. He has a very memorable small role in this movie.
Very memorable role in this. And he's a famous Canadian, like, stand-up comic. I think this was his first film role, but he ends up being in, like, Something About Mary. He gets small roles in a bunch of different comedy movies.
Then he
Periscope,
becomes,
Whole 9 Yards, Freddy Got Fingered.
Then he actually gets a main role in Sorority Boys.
That's right.
One of the 3 sorority boys. And
he does a lot of voice work, too. And
he's also Rocket Man.
Yes.
He got a leading role in Rocket Man, which was not a great movie.
No.
Rocket Man, I was at the mall one time before that movie came out. And my friend and I were walking by, one store, and this guy calls us over. He's like, hey, how would you guys like to be part of, how would you like to give us your opinion on an upcoming movie? We'll show you the trailer and we'll pay you a few bucks and, just let us know what you think after seeing the trailer. And so I'm like, okay, sure. So we go in there and they show us the trailer for Rocket Man. And they're like, what did you like about it? What did you not like about it? How do you think we should have changed the trailer around? Does it make you want to see the movie? I wasn't all that impressed with the trailer, but
okay.
I did end up renting Rocket Man and watching it, and I wasn't all that impressed with the movie.
This movie also has Brady Bloom, who will voice Christopher Robin in a lot of Winnie the Pooh things later in the 90s. And then the cameo, one that our previous guest, Tim, I remember when we saw this, he was like, yeah, that's Cam Neely. Cam Neely was a hockey player that appeared in several movies. He has a role in this movie, a memorable role in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, quite a good cast. As like I said, it's like the Farrelly brothers debut film. The other thing I remember for this movie, because we'll get into it once we start the movie, I guess, once we start talking about it. So, but yeah, I don't know how many times I've seen this movie.
Yeah, same here. I've
seen it together many times.
Yes, we have.
It's one of those movies. Like you said, it's so quotable that you just drop lines where it's appropriate.
Yeah, and, like I've seen this movie so much, I don't even remember when the first time I saw it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it after it was on video. I think I saw it after DVDs became a thing. So it was quite a bit after the movie came out that I finally saw it. I think the first time I saw this might have been in middle school, in like 8th grade, something like that.
Well, I think even like for the first few years, I think I probably would have seen Ace Ventura more, but then just over time, it's just become Dumb and Dumber.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against Ace Ventura. Ace Ventura is still...
No, it's still a funny movie. It's still...
it's still solid, but it's not quite to this level.
Yeah.
This is classic in every sense of the word. It's one of the funniest movies ever made. Endlessly rewatchable.
Yep.
I laugh.
Yeah, there's a bartender buddy of mine who you may remember from your time living in Lawrence.
Uh-huh.
This was the funniest movie in his opinion. I'm like, yeah, it is. It is up there. It is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And the two of us ended up getting a group together to go see Dumb and Dumber 2 when it came out. And I think I had more fun watching him watch the movie than watching the movie. I mean, it was funny, but
right.
I think just
listen.
Seeing his reactions was...
If someone said Dumb and Dumber was the funniest movie they've ever seen, I would not dispute them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I would quite put that as my choice. It would probably be my top 5 or top 10.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
Without a doubt.
Easily top 5.
I'm not going to dispute anyone that wants to put it as number 1 because, hey, it's still subjective and...
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, we used to joke around because the brewery that he worked at, they had every year they would do an employee Halloween party. And he and I would always... And I was always invited to it. You know, so he and I would always talk about how one of these years we're going to go rent the Dumb and Dumber tuxes and we're going to wear them to the Halloween party. We never did it, but we always talked about doing it. But
all right, I guess we should jump in.
I guess we should. So, as always, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about this entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So if you have not seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, then pause the podcast, watch the movie, and come back and listen. If you have seen the movie or you just don't mind spoilers, then keep on listening. But you have been warned.
It's been 30 years. Come on.
Yeah, it's been 30 years.
You should have seen this movie in 30 years. I don't care who you are. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call you out.
Yeah. If you haven't seen this movie, watch it. Just flat out, just watch it.
Like, I'm sorry.
If you have seen this movie, watch it again.
If you're 18, 19 years old and getting into college and you haven't seen it, it's just like, hey, we're going to watch Dumb and Dumber. Have some soda. Watch it. Soda. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So
it gets me every time because like the movie starts, it's a New Line movie.
Yeah.
I think of 3 movies with New Line. Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles.
Dumb and Dumber. And Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. Exactly. Ninja Turtles, Dumb and Dumber, and Lord of the Rings. Those are the 3 I think of too. There's so many other New Line movies, but it's just those are the 3. Those are the 3 that when that logo comes up, and yeah, that's what comes to mind.
It's actually one of my favorite intros into things too. It's the music falls anyway. So
you get the film script that comes up there.
Blade was a New Line movie.
Yes, it was.
The Mask was even a New Line movie. So yeah, those are the 3. Austin Powers would be another one actually, but I don't think of it in the same way. I don't watch the Austin Powers movies nearly as often. Might be part of it. I don't know. Anyway, so the New Line logo comes up, and then you just get the zany credits.
Zany credits where everything's misspelled.
Yeah.
I love that. Everything's like the names aren't, but like production and The different longer words are misspelled. There's this limo driving down the road. Because actually, we actually start out. It's zoomed in on a bus stop. The camera pans down.
Yes. We don't actually get the music yet.
And there's a beautiful woman standing at the bus stop, and this limo pulls up, just starts to drive past, and stops, backs up.
Then it stops, backs up.
And then, after a few seconds, the back window rolls down, and it's Jim Carrey. And he looks at the woman, he's like, "Excuse me, do you know where the medical school is? I'm supposed to give a lecture."
But my driver is terribly lost.
My driver's lost. And so she tells him, like, go down there to make a right. And then, because she knows where the medical school is, apparently.
Yeah, I was going to say, she knows
exactly where it is. And she has a foreign accent. He's like,
that's a lovely accent.
That's a lovely accent. New Jersey. It's like Austria. He's like, oh, Austria. Well, good eye, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Let's not. And then she walks away. Like, I'm not waiting for my bus.
Exactly.
This dude's a fucking psycho.
I'll catch the next bus.
What I love about it is, like, Jim Carrey, he's got a bowl cut.
Yep. He's got a chipped tooth.
He's missing part of his front tooth, which is actually, like, Jim Carrey is missing part of his front tooth.
Yes.
Like, in this movie, he took off the cap for it because he thought it would look really good for the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which, like, at the time, seeing that was, like, kind of a big deal because he had 2 very successful movies earlier in the year, and then all of a sudden, here he is, and he's got a chipped tooth. Anyway, so she walks off. He rolls up the window, and then he climbs
back up in the front seat. And he starts driving. And this is where the credits start coming up.
Yes. And I love the song. It's Boom Shakalak by Apache Indian.
Yep.
The soundtrack in this movie.
Yeah, it is fantastic.
Is perfect.
The soundtrack for this movie is fantastic.
So he's driving, we don't know what he's doing yet, but then he drives by a little, like, food stand, and there's a van.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dog.
Yep.
That's a sheepdog.
First, we see
Jeff Daniels walks out.
We see Jeff Daniels dressed like a dog, walking out toward this van.
And we don't know that they know each other at this point.
No.
In the movie, right? If you've seen the trailers, you probably know it.
Yeah.
If you're going blind in this movie, you don't know that.
Yeah.
And so then he starts getting out, all the different foods.
Yeah. So then the camera focuses on Jeff Daniels. Yeah. And he's driving, and he's, like, looking through his bag, and he's like, "Who's got the Wiener Schnitzel?" And holds it out, and a dog pops out of the back of the van. He hands it he puts it in the dog's mouth and sends it away.
Roast beef au jus.
Yes. Who's got the roast beef au jus?
And of course,
roast beef au jus.
That comes.
Yeah,
it's the poodle.
It's got
to be the poodle.
It's the poodle. So then he's like, "Oh, who's got the foot long?" And a Pomeranian comes up. He's like, "Come on, get back there. He's not you." Nice try.
And the credits keep going, and they're both driving kind of erratically.
Yep.
He almost hits a jogger. Right, And finally, the credits kind of stop, and we go back to Jim Carrey. And
Jeff Daniels, while he's driving, he gets a call.
He gets a phone call.
Like, where are those dogs? They were supposed to be here 40 minutes ago. He's like, I wasn't going to let them go to the show with on an empty stomach. Like, but I'm not going to have any time to primp them. He's like, they're not going to need any primping. I bathed them and groomed them. I bathed them and clipped them myself. But yeah, so I love to see
like he's going up a hill. I love this shot. And it goes down over it, and he gets air. And then you see the dog in the van in midair. And it just hits hard. Boom, right? The dogs, they're slotted back and forth in the back. There's mustard and ketchup squeeze bottles, like the ones you would see at a truck stop diner.
Yep, which some of those show up later in the movie.
Yes.
But yeah. And then do we get the dog show part now, or does it go back over to Jim Carrey?
Is the dogs? Does it get there first, and then it goes back to Lloyd, or not? I think it sticks with Harry.
I think it.
And like he gets there.
Because Jim Carrey plays Lloyd Christmas, Jeff Daniels plays Harry Dunn.
So he shows up there, and there's a dog owner and Margie, right? And he gets there, and she calls him like he gets there. It's like I didn't have time. It's like, no, I've seen it myself. They're taken care of. You're not going to need to do anything.
It's Mrs. Nugaborin.
Yeah,
but he calls her Mrs. Nudiborn. Yeah, Nudie Burger. Yes, Mrs. Nudie Burger.
And then he opens the back of the van, and there's really like 5 or 6 dogs back there. We saw 3 of them get food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's the one that's like, but I'm not gonna have any time to primp them
and mustard.
Yeah, it's like, well, you might want to run a comb through them. Yeah, they're all covered in ketchup and mustard.
So now we cut back to Lloyd. We don't know his name yet. We cut back to Lloyd, and he's at this big mansion.
Yeah, he pulls up to this big. He knocks on the door. The big mansion, knocks on the door. Actually, he goes up. There's a door knocker, and he has fun with the knocker. He just like keeps on knocking it.
He's making sure that they know he's there.
Mm-hmm.
And Lauren Holly
answers the door, and she's like, "I'll be right out. Just give me a minute." She shuts the door, and then he
grabs his chest. He's like,
"It's love at first sight."
As he'll say later in the movie, have you ever had that experience where you see someone for the first time and all know that you'll do anything to boner?
Yeah.
That's what's going through his mind right now.
Yep. So then she comes out and, gets in the limo, and he's supposed to take her to the airport. So
why are you going to the airport?
Flying somewhere.
How'd you guess? Well, I saw the luggage and then your ticket. So I put 2 and 2 together.
And the whole time he's like turned around facing her while he's driving, and everybody he's driving through red lights. People are crashing around him.
Things are exploding.
There's an explosion.
He's like a little nervous about the flight.
Statistically, you're more likely to die on the way to the airport.
If I was just like, hey, Harry, can you, so he's like, at first he's like, name's Christmas.
Yeah.
Lloyd Christmas. Before any of that, it's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. He's like, I've got, like, this is not my real job. So, okay.
So, yeah, my buddy and I are saving up
to buy start a business.
Yeah, we're going to open up a pet store. He's like, oh, great. I got worms. It's like, what? That's what we're going to call it. We're going to specialize in worm farms.
Like an ant farm. But it's a worm farm. It's like, that's great. And if the whole thing, everything happens, and it's like, yeah, no, can you keep me out of the road? It's like, oh, no, that's a good idea. Can't be too careful.
Yeah.
A lot of crazy drivers out there. And they pull up to the airport. He gets out, gets her out of the car, gets her luggage. He's like,
he opens up his arms, like, how about a hug? So she reluctantly hugs him, and
she's like, what's going on here?
He like wraps his arms around. He's like, I hate goodbyes. And so, he lets go. She gets
into the terminal.
She goes in. She starts walking through the hall or through the airport, and we get these 2 people.
We get Mental, who is Mike Starr,
Joe Mentalino,
and we get Shay, J.P. Shay, played by Karen Duffy.
Yeah, they're walking,
and they're kind of following her.
And so they're like, okay, so she's supposed to drop the briefcase by the escalator, and then we make the pickup. And so as Mary Swanson, as she's walking through the airport, Lloyd is outside driving real slow, watching her walk through the airport.
And he's still in the lane where they're dropping people off.
Yeah. And he's just driving slowly forward, watching her. Ends up, like, as she goes to put the briefcase down on the floor, he crashes into the car in front of him. The airbag goes off.
I love the part because, like, this is like when these are early airbags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and she hears the crash.
Right? She looks over, and he's like pinned to the seat by the airbag. He kind of looks over at her and waves, and she kind of waves back a little bit.
She drops the briefcase.
She's dropping the briefcase and keeps walking. And he sees that she left the briefcase. So he's like, no fare of mine is going to lose their luggage. So he runs in there.
that's very admirable.
It is. It is very admirable. So he comes running into the elevator, and just as Mental and Shay are about to make the pickup, he slides past them and he grabs he does a baseball slide.
Yeah.
And grabs the briefcase and then runs straight to her gate. The gate attendant, tries to stop him, tries to tell him, you can't go down there. And
he's taking out he's taking out a sign. It says Aspen.
Yes.
She's going to Aspen.
Yeah.
He's like back in the limo, she says she's going to Aspen. He's like, ooh, California. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's taking the sign off the gate, the Aspen sign off, and Lloyd goes running up there, and the guy tells him he can't get in there, and Lloyd stops for a second, pulls out his ID card. He's like, it's okay, I'm a limo driver. And he runs down the gate, down the jetway, and there's no plane, and he just falls off the edge right onto the tarmac. And then it cuts to their apartment, to Lloyd and Harry's apartment. They're both getting there at the same time. They're like, hey,
it's a cheap apartment.
How was your day?
It's rent controlled.
Yeah.
So
Harry's like, hey, Lloyd, how was your day?
I lost my job.
Oh, it wasn't too bad. Fell off the jetway again. Again.
It's a regular occurrence where he's trying to return someone's luggage and he falls off the jetway.
So they get in there.
Well, we see them pull up as they're walking in also to get Shay and Mental.
Shay and Mental pull up. So they're following Lloyd.
Followed them there.
Yeah. So
they have followed Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd. Not Harry. Harry Dunn. That's his full name, is Harry Dunn.
Yeah, so they followed Lloyd Christmas to their apartment. And they're kind of just scoping the place out while Harry and Lloyd are in there talking. And
so they go in there and we see it's a very sparse apartment.
It's a very small, sparse apartment. There's not much.
They got the worm farm. They have 2 chairs. They have a picture of a model in a swimsuit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a TV. And we don't really see much else.
No.
They go in the fridge. They have some bottles of beer.
Yep. Their parakeet's name is Petey.
Yes.
But yeah, so they're sitting there and, telling each other about their days. And Lloyd tells Harry about this girl, Mary. He's in love. And she actually talked to him.
It's like, no way.
And yeah, I love Harry's reaction to Lloyd saying that a girl actually talked to me. He's just, for lack of a better term, dumbfounded. that a girl would actually talk to one of them.
He's like, it was like tractor beam, laser beam.
Yeah.
It's like, and there's a point in there too where Harry talks about losing his job.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's like I love how he's like, you're a complete idiot. It's like, no offense. No, not taken. And finally, they get a little knock on the door. Right? And they look in there and there's Mental and Shay and
Mm-hmm.
the way there and they see Mental has a gun. It's like,
and like,
did you pay the gas bill?
Because the gas man's going to come and kill them if they don't pay him. They're going to send hitmen.
They're like, oh,
the
shit,
gas company's going to send hitmen to kill them if they don't pay the bill.
This is not Soviet Russia. Anyway, so they decide to sneak out the back window,
Mm-hmm.
but they leave a note.
Yes, they leave a note for the gas man.
Yes. And then they decide they'll come back later.
Yeah, saying that they leave a note for the gas man saying that we have your money.
And of course, they think they mean the money.
Yeah, the money for the gas bill. Yeah, Shay and Mental think that it's the money in the briefcase, but they mean they have the gas bill money.
Their intention is to come back later, make sure they're away, and then get back in their apartment. So Shay and Mental they enter the apartment. They see the note. I was like, how do they know I have gas?
Yeah, he's like, these guys are good. How'd they know we were coming? He's like, what makes you think we were coming? Gas man. How do they know I have gas? They've been watching us for a while.
And it gets established that Mental has an ulcer. And he takes pills for his ulcer.
Yes, which important
will be
later.
very important for later.
Very important later.
But then he's like, I think we should trash this place.
Like, I don't think that'll matter.
I don't think they'll get that message.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get that message. And then he sees the parakeet, Petey.
He's like, I've got a better idea.
So he...
It's like, I thought I saw a pudding tap.
Yeah.
I did.
So he reaches into the parakeet's cage, and, you hear a little bit of a parakeet struggle, and then you hear a snap. You don't actually see it, but you hear a snap.
Oh gosh.
Then the parakeet gets quiet.
Lloyd and Harry show back up at their apartment building. Well, oh wait. So when Mental and Shay, when they first start going into the apartment, there's a blind boy.
Yes, there's a blind boy outside.
So now Harry and Lloyd, they show back up. They get in, and
a blind boy in a wheelchair. Not just a blind boy, but a blind boy in a wheelchair.
They show back up at their apartment. They'll both go up. They show back up. It's like, apparently why they left. They decide they should look for jobs.
Yes.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because they both had just been fired.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, I can't believe we drove around town all day. Couldn't find a job.
Yeah.
Unless you want to work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So, they decide that they need to, I guess send Harry to get some supplies.
No, they sent Lloyd.
Lloyd, that's right. Yeah, Lloyd.
To get some beer.
Get some beer.
Because they were out of beer.
Yeah, they were out of beer. And it's all he should get is the beer.
Yes. All he needs to get is beer.
Money.
Because the money that Harry gives him is all the money they have left. Next thing you see, Lloyd is walking down the sidewalk. He's got a giant foam cowboy hat on. He's got 2 cases of beer. He's got a little ball and paddle. He's got in the top case of beer. He's got like 4 pinwheels sticking out of it, and he walks by a little newspaper.
What convenience store sells all that?
Yeah, he went
somewhere else.
He walks by a newspaper machine.
There's like USA Today and Rhode Island Slut.
Yes, and he decides he's going to buy himself a Rhode Island Slut.
And mind you, he's able to get to his wallet, but his arms and hands are kind of full. And he's able to get a coin in.
And he's still got the wallet in his hand when he reaches in to get the paper. But when he gets the paper, the wallet slips out of his hand. And as he pulls it out, the door shuts. with his wallet still inside.
For those that are younger, newspaper machines used to be a lot more common.
Yes. You could usually find a few of them outside of Walmart and, other stores like that.
Wherever. Because typically inside a gas station, they would just sell the papers or wherever. But, sometimes at bus stops, it'd be there.
Mm-hmm.
And you could put in a quarter or 2 quarters and then releases it. You could go in and you get the paper that you want to get.
Yeah.
Right? You had multiple of them because we have your local paper, you have USA Today, Wall Street Journal, whatever it might be. Rhode Island Slut.
Rhode Island Slut. No. It wasn't just Rhodey Slut. Maybe. Not even Rhode Island Slut. I think it was just Rhodey Slut. Rhodey with an H. So like Rhode Island, but Rhodey Slut.
You mean like Don Cheadle?
No, Don Cheadle was not the Rhodey Slut.
Oh, that's Terrence Howard.
That's Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard is the Rhodey Slut. He's the one that quit because they wouldn't pay him more.
Yes. You can go back and listen to our Iron Man episode.
He did do a great job in that movie, though.
He did. So he's kind of flabbergasted, dumbfounded a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then a nice little old lady.
Yes. He puts his beer and everything up on top of he puts his beer and everything up on top of the newspaper machine. And he
asks her, hey, can you break a bill?
Can you break $1? And she's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. He's like, okay, well, would you mind sitting here and watching my stuff while I go and break $1? And she's like, sure. And
she's absolutely honest about this.
She's absolutely honest about it. She's a sweet old lady.
She's a nice old lady.
And so he turns to walk away and stops, and he's like, it's true what they say. Senior citizens, though slow and dangerous behind the wheel, can still serve a purpose.
And then, I love the look on her face. She's like, this daggers. Fuck you.
Yeah. So he leaves her to go break $1. And when he comes back, all his stuff's gone. and the old lady's gone.
Including the wallet.
The wallet that's in the thing. So he gets home, walks in, slams the door, and Harry's like, where's the beer? Lloyd's like,
I got ripped off by an old lady.
I got ripped off by an old lady in a motorized cart.
Didn't even see it coming.
So he's like, well, that's too bad. It just fits with the rest of what's going on. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, my parakeet Petey? He's dead.
His head fell
off. It's like, how do you know? His head fell off.
And he looks over the cage. He's like, oh.
So
Harry's had enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we gotta get out of here.
Well, Lloyd's had enough.
That's it. Lloyd's had enough. Sorry. Harry's actually thinking maybe we should just look for jobs.
Yeah. Harry's like, maybe we should still look for jobs. And Lloyd's like, no, we need to get out of here. I'm sick and tired of eking my way through life. I'm sick and tired. He's like, look at what's going on here. We have a tiny apartment. We got no money, no jobs, no food. Our pets' heads are falling off.
He just points like, our pets' heads are falling off.
And he's like, we need to go somewhere. We need to go to Aspen.
Like Aspen.
Yeah. We need to go somewhere. He's like, where? Aspen.
A place that's warm.
A place that's warm.
The beer flows.
The beer flows like wine.
And then that's when.
And then Harry
like,
catches him.
Like, you want to go after that woman, that girl.
Yeah, the girl who left her briefcase. He's like, yeah.
Yes.
He's like, yes, of course I do. But then he gets real. Then Lloyd gets real.
There's occasional moments of realness in this movie.
He's like, Harry, I'm sick and tired of being nobody. I'm sick and tired of eking my way through life. I'm sick and tired of being a nobody. But most of all, I'm sick and tired of having nobody. And then Harry's like, okay, Lloyd, let's go to Aspen.
We kind of forgot to cover the point where Harry spent his life savings turning that van.
Yes. Harry spent his life savings turning his van into a sheepdog.
And I'm like, the girls love it. It's a shaggin' wagon.
I mean, the alarm alone cost $200.
Oh, goodness. So they leave. And so I don't think we covered this earlier, but they live in Providence,
Yes,
Rhode Island.
Providence, Rhode Island.
The Fairley brothers based a lot of their movies in Rhode Island. They were from Rhode Island. So when they leave, you see a lot of the Providence sites as they're driving out of town. Right?
Yep.
And that's when actually, I guess I forgot. That's I think we see Mental and Shay kind of come back in, and they. No, I'm sorry. That's not when we see that. Sorry, I'm mistaken. And so they're driving off, and
oh wait, no. This is when the note is on the door.
Yes,
because earlier there was no note because they had left, and then because they say went to Aspen, we have your money.
Yes. And that's actually when they walk in and they see the boy in the wheelchair. Right?
Yeah, that's when they walk in and they see the boy in the wheelchair. Because while they're driving, Harry's driving, Lloyd is eating a bag of like chips
Doritos,
or something. Like he's eating some snacks.
And
he's like, where'd you get that? We have
realize they're on a tight budget.
Mm-hmm. We're on a tight budget. Where'd you get that? And he's like, oh, it's okay. I was able to make an extra $25 before we left. I sold a few things. It's like,
what did he sell?
Who'd you sell stuff to? Like Billy and Forsey. He's like, the blind kid?
The blind kid?
What'd you sell him? It's like, oh, just a few odds and ends, just some stuff. He's like, Lloyd, what'd you sell him? He's like, some baseball cards, a sack of marbles. Petey. Like, you sold my dead bird to a blind kid? He's like, yeah.
He didn't have a head.
He's like, he didn't have a head. He's like, Harry, I took care of it. And then it shows Billy and Forsey in his wheelchair petting a bird that has its head scotch taped back onto it.
Not even ducked him in scotch tape.
He's like, pretty bird. Polly, want a cracker? And that's when Mental and Shay walk past him.
So, funny thing about this is, in Roger Ebert's review of the movie, he said he thought it was kind of hit or miss with the comedy.
Oh, it's hit. It's all hit. It's all hit.
But he referenced this scene with the dead parakeet. He said, "It made me laugh so loud, I embarrassed myself."
That's awesome. That is awesome.
And it's a scene. It doesn't matter. You know it's coming. It's one of the most iconic parts of this movie, which has a lot, but it's probably the top 3. It happens every time. You gotta laugh.
You laugh at it every time. It is. Oh, it's so great.
Anyway,
so they're driving.
That's when they get up there. They see the note and So they're going to follow them.
Mhm.
It's good, right? So we established a buddy movie, which is also kind of like a road trip movie.
a
But
buddy
also being chased.
Yeah.
Like
It's like all these things melded
combining
together.
a lot of different things together.
Yeah. And it works so well.
It does.
But, so they're driving. They stop at a diner. And they got their burgers. They're sitting at their table at their booth and they're talking, and
it's your basic kind of roadside diner truck stop in the country.
And Harry reaches over and knocks over the salt shaker, and he goes to start to take a bite of his burger, and Lloyd stops. He's like, "Harry, what are you doing? You spilled the salt.
It's like,
that's bad luck." He's like, "That's bad luck. We're on a road trip. The last thing we need is bad luck. So now you got to throw some salt over your left shoulder." So he just picks up the salt shaker, tosses it over his left shoulder, and we hear it hit somebody. He's like, "What the hell?" And then this big dude, Seabass. Cam Neely.
I love his hat. Wine him, dine him, and 69 him.
Yeah. Yeah, so Cam Neely comes walking over, Seabass.
He's like, "Who's the asshole, or who's the man that hit me with...
Who hit me with a salt shaker?" And Lloyd just starts pointing. He just starts pointing over at Harry.
He couldn't point
covering
at
his
someone
face,
else in the
covering
restaurant.
his face, pointing over at Harry.
He looks at his burger.
Yep.
It's like, "You're gonna eat that?" It's like, it crossed my mind.
He's like, "Well, yeah, yes, no. It crossed my mind."
And then one of his buddies back in this day was like, "Kick his ass, Seabass!"
Kick his ass, Seabass. And so Seabass picks up the top of the bun off of the burger, and he just hocks a big old loogie right on it. And now I watched the unrated version of this movie, which it's slightly extended. It's got 6 minutes of extra footage. It's mostly just a few seconds here and there, like 20, 30 seconds here and there. But yeah, this is one of those times where there's a few seconds added, where in the theatrical cut, you just, you see him start,
you hear the
hawking
noise,
the loogie, you hear the noise,
react to it.
And then, you see him kind of dip down to hawk the loogie in there, but you don't actually see the loogie go into the burger. In the unrated cut, you do. It's this nasty green and brown, like he's been chewing. And it's just this nasty loogie that he just spits right out of this burger.
That burger ain't being saved.
Mm-mm. And then he puts the top bun back on. He's like, "You still gonna eat it?" He's like, Nope. I think I'm good." So Seabass takes his burger back to and goes back to his table. And then Lloyd starts teasing Harry, starts laughing at him. And then, so after Lloyd's done eating, Harry's sitting there. He hasn't been able, he didn't get anything to eat, but they're trying to figure out what to do. And Lloyd's like, "I got it." Yeah, he's like, he stops for a second. He's like looks like he's thinking. He's like, "Yep, I got an idea."
Follow me.
He's like, "Follow my lead." We walk over to Seabass and his buddies, and Seabass is like, "What do you want?" And Lloyd's like, "Well, Mr. Seabass, we just wanted to apologize." He's like, we just wanted to apologize for everything that went on earlier, and we thought we want to buy you guys a round of beers. And Seabass is like, "Well, make it 4 Boilermakers." He's like, "Oh, you got it." So they walk up to the counter where the girl is. We missed. So before we get to this part, when they order their food, Flo, the server, Flo, greeted them, and Lloyd's looking at the menu. He's like, "Excuse me, Flo?" And then they both start laughing. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's the soup du jour?" She's like, it's the soup of the day. It's like, that sounds good. I'll have that.
Good. I'll have that.
But then when he gets his food, it's a burger. It's not soup. But anyway. So they're at the counter, and Lloyd's like, hey, so Seabass and his buddies said that they were going to go ahead and take care of our bill. And she's like
Seabass
said that? He's like, yeah. If he kind of motions over to where Seabass and his buddies are sitting, he's like,
Seabass points at the table.
If that guy over there is Seabass, and Seabass, reaches his hand up and points down at himself, and it's like, all right. they grab a bunch of other stuff that's on the like snacks and whatnot that are on the counter, snacks and a newspaper and different things. Like, put these on there too.
He needs to get some beef jerky.
Yep. Put these on there too. And she's like, okay. So then they're in the van and they're driving away, and Harry's like, "Oh, that was a great idea. That was amazing. Where'd you come up with that?" It's like, I saw it in the movie once. He's like, so what? The guy got off scot-free? Like, no, they caught up with him a half a mile down the road and slit his throat. It was a good one.
And meanwhile, they got back to the parking lot and Seabass and his friends, the waitresses, Flo, they come up.
They're running out, pissed off. And Lloyd and Harry's all nervous.
Harry's like, not Harry. Lloyd's like, this is a bad time to tell you, but
I gotta pee.
I gotta pee.
And there's no way Harry's gonna stop.
Like, what now?
There's no way Harry's gonna stop. So he's like, well, pee into some of the empty beer bottles
back there.
So Harry's, so Lloyd is, peeing in the bottles while Harry's driving. And Harry's driving fast because he's trying to get away from Seabass. Yeah, he's trying to get out of there.
So they go over a bridge and they pass a billboard. And it's a classic little speed trap.
Mm-hmm.
The cop on the motorcycle behind the billboard.
Yep.
And he sees it going fast, and he comes after them.
And meanwhile, Lloyd is still peeing.
He's filling up bottle after bottle.
Yeah, and he just keeps handing them to Harry as he's filling them. So Harry's got like 4 of them in his arms. While he's trying to drive. Just as the cop comes up. The cop played by Harlan Williams.
And, he comes to the side. He's telling them to pull over. It's a cardigan, but thank you.
He's like, pull over. He's like, actually, it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing.
He's like, pull on the side of the road. So, they pull over. And
Harry puts the beer bottles down.
They put the beer, between them, and the cop comes over and
he's like, you're going awfully fast right back there, and he's like, he's like, have you been drinking? Like, no, sir.
He looks over, he sees the bottles. He looks over, he sees the bottles. He's like, hitting Grandpa's medicine cabinet.
Mm-hmm. That it's against the law.
Never.
Yeah, he's like, it's against the law to have an open container in Pennsylvania. He's like, officer, we would never. He's like, give it to me. So Harry's like, officer, no, you don't want it. No.
And so they pick it up and they start handing it. A little bit spills.
Yeah. Lloyd picks it up.
I love Harry's face.
Yes.
In this. He's like,
yes.
This is one of those tiny moments of like just beautiful acting by Jeff Daniels.
Yes, absolutely.
He's pissed off. He hates the situation. He just got urine spilled all over him. It's not his fault at all. He's like gonna beat this guy up, and they hand it over, and then the trooper takes a swig,
and then he just starts spasming. And he's like, get out of here.
I love Lloyd though. He's like, Tic Tac, sir.
Tic Tac, sir. Tic Tac, officer.
Like, get the hell out of here. And they drive off.
They drive off.
So meanwhile, we realize we get a few scenes back in Aspen.
Mm-hmm. With Mary and her family and friends.
And we realize that her husband has been kidnapped.
Yes.
And is being held for ransom.
And that the briefcase had money in it that she had left that was supposed to be the ransom money so that she'd get her husband back. And
they decide not to call the cops. They're just going to pay the ransom.
Yeah, and they found out that the money never made it to the kidnappers.
There's a family friend there. His name is Nicholas Andre, played by Charles Rocket. And he's kind of helping them through this time.
Yeah. So. And he suggests that there's a fundraiser that's coming up, that, a fundraiser for a wildlife fundraiser that he suggests that they cancel because, they could use the time to sort of recoup. Mary's family, they help sponsor this fundraiser. Mm-hmm. And so preservation of endangered species. Yes. And so they decide, well, no, we shouldn't cancel it. We need to put on a good face and, show that we're not going to let this get to us, show that we can still, live our lives normally. So
reasonable.
Yeah.
So we get back and then, on the road, and it's Harry and Lloyd, and they're staying at a little Lover's Inn motel.
Yes. Now, here's another little extended part from the unrated cut. So in theatrical, we just have, we have Harry and Lloyd sitting in the heart-shaped bathtub, just talking.
Heart-shaped jacuzzi.
Yes, heart-shaped jacuzzi. Sorry. Heart-shaped jacuzzi. Heart-shaped hot tub. And because it's the second honeymoon motel. But in the unrated cut, it's a few seconds longer. And the camera pans across. It starts at the bed and then pans across the room. The whole time, we hear a couple having sex. We hear just the muffled sounds of somebody. We hear moaning and, all that. And when it pans over to show Harry and Lloyd in the hot tub, Lloyd has a little glass and he's holding it up against the wall and he's listening. And he's like, Harry, this is the life. A hotel room, hot tub, paper thin walls. And he's like, and you're lucky you don't have a pair of breasts because I'd jump your bones right now. What the? He's like, I'd rock your world.
He's got a rapist wit.
He's got a rapist wit. It comes later.
He's not lying.
Yeah. So, but yeah, then in the theatrical cut, it starts after this little conversation there where they're just in the tub. So this is a part that, it's kind of funny, but it's not really needed. So I can see why they took it out.
Yes.
But yeah, so they're talking about, they're talking on the tub.
Aries.
Yeah. And that's where they mention
in a place like this.
Yes.
Not quite as classy.
Yeah,
but,
not
nice.
quite as classy, but yeah, nice. With Freda Felcher. They both find out that, each of them had a fling with Freda Felcher. Back in the day. Back a few years ago.
Just a few.
Yeah.
But outside of their motel, we have caught back up to Mental. And
he's in a phone booth.
On the phone. And he's on the phone with Nicholas.
Yes, with Nicholas Andre.
This
is where it's officially revealed that Nicholas Andre is the one that's responsible for the kidnapping. And so he's playing Mary. And there's this guy standing outside the phone booth, just like talking under his breath, complaining about how long Mental is taking on the phone.
He's got like a long like trench coat. Like he's
this nerdy guy.
It's weird. Okay, this is a seedy motel he's out at. He does not look like he belongs at this motel.
Yeah, so Fred Stoller is the actor who plays anxious man at phone. Fred Stoller, who you'd recognize him from a bunch of different things.
Yes. One of the things I I recognize him from was his recurring role in Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes,
as Ray Romano's cousin.
Yep.
But he's done a bunch of things, some voice work, and other.
He was in an
TV
episode of Rick and Morty. He was, he's just done a lot of stuff. TV, movies.
He's done video game voices.
He's got a very distinctive voice.
Yeah. So, he at some point, he finally starts to get a little bit more confrontational.
Yeah.
And so, Mental kind of tells Andre to wait a second. He turns around. He pretends like he can't hear the guy. And he's like, get off the phone. And he just punches through the phone booth. Again, this is 1994. Most people did not have cell phones.
No. So there were actual phone booths. Like the kind that Superman used to change in.
So then he punches him out. And he's like, you know what? No, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to find out who they are. And if they're working for anybody, I'll take care of them. He says I got some rat poison. I'll take care of it.
He was also, he was also in an episode of Diagnosis Murder.
Wow.
Fred Stoller.
Who's who of Diagnostic Murder?
There's no Doctor Who people in here, but there's some Diagnosis Murder people.
He was also in 2 episodes of Scrubs, apparently.
Yes, he was. He was.
So, a lot of work. Funny little guy.
Yep.
One of those ones that does a good job of blending into what he does. But it's still distinctive.
But yeah, Mental punches through the glass and knocks him out. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Andre. What did you say? What were you saying?
So we get the next day, and we get further down the road, and Mental, at the side of the road, and they pretend like the car is broken down, and he's going to get a ride from these guys.
Well, actually, no. That was... So the phone booth is later. It's after he's already with them.
Is it?
Yeah, because they had a plan so that he's going to tag along with them. Wait.
So that they caught up to them.
That's right.
He gets a ride with them right after that, and then they pick up the other hitchhikers. They sing the Mockingbird song.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah. So they pretend like his car is broken down, and Shay is supposed to hide, and they're supposed to pick up Mental, and then she's supposed to get in the car and follow. So, but she's got to pee, so she's over squatting as they drive up. So he's like, stay down. And so they, they pull over. He waves them out, and they pull over. And Lloyd's like, well, usually we don't pick up hitchhikers.
But I'm going to go with my instinct on this.
Yeah, I got a good feeling about you. So they pick him up. And they're playing tag in the car.
Mental's already had enough of this.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a double stamp, Lloyd. You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
He's like, guys, can't we just listen to some music?
No, don't forget you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
That's what he's like. Can we just listen to music? Turn on the radio?
Yep.
Like,
we don't need a radio. And then they start saying,
Bach.
Yeah.
Eeg.
Yeah. Bird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mockingbird. Anybody? Have you heard? Have you heard?
And he's ready to kill them right there. And they stop. Like,
yeah, like he's reaching for his gun. And they see a Mexican family on the side of the road. Like, more hitchhikers. Pick them up.
So they're sitting in the back, and they're still singing, Mock
see. Mock seeing. See. Bird. See. See.
Oh, goodness. At some point, they drop off the Mexican family.
So yeah, at some point they stop at a diner.
At a restaurant that has the hottest peppers east of the Mississippi.
Yeah. Well, west of the Mississippi, because they're in.
What is it? West?
I think they're in.
West or east?
I think they're in Nebraska at this point.
They must be like, yeah.
Because it's not long after this that they get to the Colorado state line.
That's right. They get to the state line. Thank you. Good.
Yeah, I think they're in Nebraska at this point. And so, yeah, it's the hottest peppers west of the Mississippi. And so they're sitting at the counter.
They're kind of saying they're sitting counter here, right? They got ketchup and mustard bottles, like we said earlier in the movie. And they got a jar of peppers, which are the hottest peppers.
Mm-hmm. And so they're daring
and
each other
back
to eat
and forth,
them.
arguing who's going to try them first.
Yeah. And then Mental's like, guys, why don't you just both eat at the same time?
And like, that's a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm. So, they both, grab one and throw it in their mouth. And they're like, oh, it's not bad. More tingly than hot. And then they both start screaming. Like, Harry grabs the ketchup and mustard, starts squeezing it into his mouth. He's like, here, Lloyd, this helps. So Lloyd grabs it. And he just starts squeezing it, shooting it up in the air.
What I love about this scene is perfect for the brand of comedy that Jim Carrey has.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Jeff Daniels does it perfectly.
Yes, he does. But meanwhile, while they're dealing with the hot peppers,
he's like, Mental, hey boys, I'm going to take a phone call.
He goes to make a phone call. So he calls Nicholas Andre.
And that's when he talks about the rat poisons now.
Yeah, this is what, so he's like, I'm just sitting down for a meal with them. He's like, don't forget the salad fork's on your left. He's like, no, it's okay. I'm going to take them out. They'll never expect little rat poison in their drink. And so while he's gone,
right before he gets in,
their food comes.
They've recovered.
Yeah, they've recovered, and their food comes. They all have burgers.
Bunch of peppers on his burger.
Yeah, because they're wanting because they offered him the pepper first. He's like, no, I got an ulcer. I'm not. I guess he didn't mention the ulcer. He's just like, no, I'm good.
Doesn't. He just said no. He's good. He's not taking it because of the ulcer.
Yeah.
He knows that's just not good.
So yeah, they're loading up his burger with peppers while he's out. And then as he's walking up, they put the bun back on it, and they're kind of chuckling to themselves. He's like, all right, so what brings you guys? Why are you guys headed to Aspen? He's like, why don't you eat your burger and we'll tell you.
So he takes a bite.
No, so he picks up the burger and he's asking him more.
Would love this briefcase, and we're bringing it back to her.
It's like, wait. He's like, yeah, because you guys are, all I saw in the van was one suitcase and a briefcase.
That's right. That's what he's wanting. He's like,
and Harry's like,
there's not much going on back.
And Harry's like, it's not even our briefcase. Yeah. It's some lady left it at the airport and we're taking it back to her.
It's like, wait.
He's like, wait. So you guys you don't even know anything about it? It's not even your briefcase? And they're like, nope. Like, he starts laughing.
He's like, you're going to die for nothing. He's like, talk about being in the wrong place
at the wrong time. And then he takes a bite of the burger. And then it hits him. And his ulcer starts acting up.
And he's like...
And he drops to the ground. Back. And I love Lloyd. He's like, it's okay, I know CPR.
Well, even before that, they look at him. They don't realize it's an emergency yet, right?
Yeah.
He just falls back.
And they just start laughing at him. Meanwhile, the whole restaurant's looking.
And they realize, like, all of a sudden it's an emergency. It's like, okay, I know CPR.
He starts pumping his legs like, out with the bad air, in with the good air, out with the bad air, in with the good air.
He's just trying to push his legs.
And then he starts beating on his chest. He starts
zooming out the mouth.
He starts beating on his chest, and then he tries to zoom out the mouth. First, he spits the burger out of his mouth before he goes and tries to do mouth to mouth with him.
Mental,
like, oh, it's okay. It'll work. Mental is like, he's holding his face back. He's like, no, it's okay. It works better if you don't struggle.
And also, he's just saying pills. So
Harry reaches into his pocket and pulls out pills. Pulls out the bottle of rat poison. They just
shove the pills.
They just start dumping pills in his mouth.
Shove them down his mouth. He's like, take the pills. We like the pills.
Yep, pills are good. And then he notices what pill bottle Harry's holding.
It's not his ulcer medicine.
It's the rat poison.
He looks up at him. And then his head goes up and he just falls dead. I love Lloyd. Puts his head in his chest. Doesn't hear any breathing. He's like, check, please.
Check, please.
Which apparently they paid and they left. Just later, we see that, like, cops there.
Yeah.
And
they're like,
oh, yeah, they left it a
sheepdog.
Sheepdog. I love, whoever, like, the lead detective's like, he's like, oh, that'll be easy. we can find that.
They head westbound in a sheepdog. So they're driving. They stop for gas. We get the cops just across the Colorado border.
Right. Well,
for
first
them.
they stop for gas first.
I thought we saw the cops first before they stopped for gas.
Yeah. So they stop for gas. And the cops are waiting for them.
They stop for gas, and then this is
Harry's gonna go. Harry goes into
Lloyd goes in.
Gas, Lloyd goes to the bathroom.
Lloyd goes to the bathroom. Yeah, Harry's
what
pumping gas.
I love about this sheepdog, which we have not seen this feature of yet, is that it's got a leg that they can lift up.
You prop the leg up, and that's where the gas door is. It's under the leg.
So, Lloyd's in the bathroom. Harry's pumping gas, and there's this lady in a jeep, that's on the other side of the pump from him, right? And they're talking. It's like he looks up. He's like, "Nice skis. Are they yours?"
It's like, yeah.
She's like, yeah.
Both of them?
It's like, yeah. And they start talking, and and then eventually gas
start pouring out of
because
he's overfilling his gas tank. He's like, oh, you're pouring out there.
They're both going to Aspen. It's like, how about you give us a number? And he's like, so, oh yeah, you're leaking. Like, okay. So then that's when we cut
to Lloyd
back to the bathroom.
He's
in a stall.
Yeah, he's in a stall. He's peeing, and he looks on the wall, and it says, manly love, be here on whatever the date at 2:15 a.m. sharp."
And he is there at that time.
And he looks at his watch, and it's 2:14, just a couple seconds away from 2:15. The minute hand goes to 2:15. He's like, and then he hears the door open. So he freaks out. He steps up onto the toilet seat, and he crouches down, and then sees the feet show up on the other side of the stall door, and
it's sea bass.
It's the door kind of shakes a little bit because the guy's trying to get in, and busts the door open, and it's sea bass standing there, and he sees Lloyd. He's like,
he gets his lights in his eye. Like, yes!
He gets excited. He's like, well, look at this.
And Lloyd's just like, I love Lloyd. It's like, ah! Right, Harry, he's trying to get this girl's number at the tank, and he lights her cigarette, and he throws the match down. Remember, his leg is covered
in gasoline. So, when he goes to put out the match, then he ends up lighting himself on fire. So his leg is burning. Meanwhile, the girl's going on and on about her ex-boyfriend and how she shouldn't be going after another guy right now. But what the hell? Why not give him a number? And then she gets like talking to him. She starts like, I can't find a pen. I don't have anything to write on. And he's like, well, just tell it to me.
I got a good memory.
You say okay. So she starts telling it to him, tells him the wrong number, and then he's like, huh? And she's just going on trying to remember what the actual number is, what the new number is, and he's just like he realizes his leg is on fire.
He's like, just give me the damn number.
Give me the damn number. He's like, well, if you're gonna act like that, I don't want to.
So she drives off.
So she drives off, and he goes running into the bathroom, busts the stall door open that Lloyd's in, knocks Seabass out with a door.
And just shoves his leg
down there, and then notices that Lloyd is cowering in the corner, sucking his thumb.
He looks over and he sees Seabass just now, like, hunched over. So then we get back to the cops, and like, oh yeah, they just left, a gas station. They're less than 30 miles from here, right? It's like, all right, good. We're not going to have to wait very long.
Just on the other side of the Colorado border.
So we get the sign, and Harry talks about, I've been driving like 12 hours. I'm beat. I can't drive any further.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a sign that says,
he's like,
Colorado border.
I don't have the energy to start another state.
Yeah, that's it. He sees the sign, like, I don't have the energy to start another state.
So Lloyd
they stop at a 7-Eleven.
Starts driving. So then they stop at 7-Eleven. Lloyd goes in to get some snacks. Walks out. There's a couple of guys.
Big gulps,
These two guys out there drinking from big gulps, and he's like, "Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later."
And then he goes in and he sees, Harry's just passed out. He's like, some guys aren't just built for the road. And so he's leaving. Then
is this when he has his daydream?
Oh, we forgot about the daydream. That was earlier in the movie.
Yeah, that was earlier. At one point, Lloyd, while he's driving, he's fantasizing about when they get to Aspen and he meets up with Mary, and she's so excited to have her briefcase back, and so they go out on a date, and he's impressing her with everything and like being funny with her friends. And I like so here's the part. Here's something I really like this little touch that they put in. So the part where he's like making jokes with the friends and everything. None of the friends that are in that scene, in that fantasy, are her actual friends. Like, we never see them again because he doesn't know what her friends look like.
He doesn't. Exactly. He
so it's just random people. Yeah. So I like that they didn't actually use the actors that played her friends.
Yes, I agree. And it's just hilarious because, like, they're like in a little lodge and a fire, and he's just telling jokes and being ridiculous.
And then he lights a fart on fire.
He throws a bowl of peanuts in his face.
Yes.
They all laugh.
And then he lights a fart on fire, and they all laugh. And then
lights a fart on fire.
And then they're at dinner, and the waiter comes over and starts kissing up and down Mary's arm, and so Lloyd gets up and
he throws his napkin down on the floor.
Throws his napkin down, stands up, and strikes a fighting pose. And then he goes to kick the asses of everybody that works there.
The next guy comes up, like, and starts puts his balls like a punch in the bag.
And then he bites him.
And I love how he's doing it. The guy's like, oh.
And then the chef comes out of the kitchen.
The chef.
And he's this martial arts master. And
he comes in, he's like,
and so he's fighting with Lloyd a little bit, gets a couple hits in, but then Lloyd...
He gets a couple in, and he knocks Lloyd down to the ground.
And he pops back up. Yep, he pops back up. He does a cartwheel, and then a somersault.
And he sees a little bit of blood on his lip. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
And he punches him.
Yeah, he shoves his hand. Yeah, he pulls a Temple of Doom, rips the guy's heart out, and then reaches over, grabs a doggy bag, puts the heart in the doggy bag, closes it up, and hands it to him. The guy takes it and then falls back and dies.
And then we get the scene where we're in Mary's bedroom.
Yes. And Lloyd takes his jacket off, and Mary takes her dress off, and then camera pans down, and her boobs are headlights. And they're headlights because there's a truck coming in the opposite direction that's flashing its lights, and it's honking. And then Lloyd snaps out of it, and he notices he's about to run headfirst into this truck. And he swerves.
I always think about this, right? Because, like, I wonder, like, for Lord Holly's, like, there's going to be a scene where you're topless, but then we're going to put headlights on.
Yeah, we're going to put headlights on your boobs. Your headlights are actually literally going to be headlights.
Yeah, that's early in the movie. I don't know how I
don't know how we skipped that. Yeah, but yeah, then. So yeah, Lloyd swerves, and then Harry like gets woken up from all the swerving and everything. He's like, "You want me to drive?" Lloyd's like, nope, I got it. Yeah, so back to, after they leave the 7-Eleven.
So they're leaving there, and there's, they have a choice of going east or west.
Yeah. West toward Aspen or east toward Lincoln.
Yeah.
And so Lloyd looks over, and Harry's sleeping.
He's trying to pinch his nose.
He's trying to pinch his nose because he's snoring. And so he's not paying attention to the road and ends up going the wrong way on the exit. So he goes the exit to the east. And so then he's driving, and it's the next morning, and it's just flat plains. And Harry wakes up, and he's like, how long have I been asleep? And Lloyd's like, oh, about 5 hours.
I thought the Rocky Mountains would be a lot rockier.
Lloyd's like, yeah, I know. That John Denver's full of shit. Then Harry realizes that they're going the wrong way. And then he gets mad, and he's like, you drove us 1/6 of the way in the wrong direction. Now we don't have any money. We don't have enough money to get to Aspen. We don't have enough money to get home. And Lloyd's like, come on, I made a mistake. We'll figure something out. And Harry walks off by himself. He leaves Lloyd. The
next thing we see is half his butt crack.
Yeah, he's sitting there, and his pants are down. He's got a bad case of plumber's butt. And so, yeah, Harry, leaves. He just goes walking on the highway trying to hitchhike his way home. And then behind him in the distance, we see a motorcycle.
A motorcycle?
We see in the distance, we can't tell what exactly it is, but it looks like a bike. And
I love how, like, before they separate, he's like, you drove 1/6 of the way across the country in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're broke. And Lloyd's like, I guess you've never made a mistake. And the way he says it, like, this is another one of those tiny moments.
It's one of those moments where it's real. Yeah. Where they get real with each other. And so it turns out
they separate ways.
Turns out
and the crash test dummies come on the air.
Yes. Yes, the Crash Test Dummies with their song. That's the name of the song.
It's a perfect use in this moment.
Yeah, it is. Like, I forgot that this song was in this movie. And it started playing like, that's the Crash Test Dummies, and is the perfect placement for it.
But so yeah, he's walking off, and all of a sudden, yeah, you see in the distance, it's Lloyd. Looks like he's on a motorcycle. It's not a motorcycle.
It's a mini bike. It's a little tiny, little.
Hey, he gets 70 miles to the gallon.
Yes, on this hog. He pulls up. He's like, "Hey, Harry." He's like, "Lloyd, where'd you get this? Where'd you get this bike?" He's like, "Traded the van for it straight up." I found some kid had it back there. I traded the van for it straight up. I can get 70 miles to the gallon this hog while he's adjusting the mirror. And then Harry's like, "Lloyd, just when I think you can't get any dumber, you go and you pull something like this and totally redeem yourself." So then Lloyd's like, "You want to go to Aspen?" He's like, "Yeah, let's go." So he hops on the. He's like, "There's room for one more on this here if you still want to go to Aspen." So yeah, let's go. So they're riding to Aspen, and it's a little montage of them, on the road, on the bike,
on the road. Truck drives by,
driving up the mountains,
and it doesn't, and they get excited.
Trying to drive up a mountain, but they don't have enough juice to really go the speed limit, so they're going real slow. So there's a long line of cars behind them.
They're honking.
And then they're going downhill. They're going faster, right? And they get to Aspen. And Harry's driving. Lloyd's behind him. Harry's like, "Pull over, I gotta pee." And Lloyd's like, "Just go." So Harry starts peeing.
Oh,
he's like, "Oh, that's warm." Meanwhile, Lloyd's wearing gloves. Harry's not. And so they pull over, and they're sitting on the side of the road, and Harry's like complaining that his hands are freezing, and Lloyd's like, "Oh, here, you could borrow my extra pair of gloves." And that was the last straw for Harry. Harry's like, "You mean you've had an extra pair of gloves all this time?" And Lloyd's like, "Yeah."
He's like, "Yeah.
We're in the mountains." So Harry's like, "I'm going to do something I should have done a long time ago. I'm going to throw this briefcase into that pond."
In that pond.
And so Lloyd's trying to stop him, and they're kind of fighting over it. And he tosses the briefcase off to the side, and they're fighting. And then Lloyd sees it. He's like, Harry, look. And they look over, and the briefcase is broken open, and it's full of money. Full of money. So they're like, "Okay, well, we'll borrow just enough to get us some decent lodgings.
We'll account for every penny.
Maybe some food.
IOUs.
And, we'll account for every penny. We'll use IOUs, and like, yeah, we're good for it." And then Lloyd's like, "Yep, our word is our bond."
Our word is our bond.
But yeah, and they're walking down the streets of Aspen, and they pass by.
Check out the butt on that.
They pass by a couple, a man and a woman, and they stop and look back, and Harry's like, "Oh, look at the butt on that one."
Lloyd's like, "Yeah, he must work out."
He must work out.
And it's like, they're in Aspen, like, "Oh, like we should look her up in the dictionary." In the dictionary.
Look her up in the dictionary. Look her up in the phone book. What's her name? What's her last name?
Phone books used to be a thing.
Because there's a phone book that was attached to a phone booth.
Swami,
Slappy, Slippy,
Swanson.
Swami, Swanson.
And then Lloyd's
He's like, check the
look at
briefcase.
the briefcase.
Like, oh, Samsonite. I was way off.
Way off. It's like, I don't see it. She must be unlisted.
Yeah, she must be unlisted. Which, I mean, she never said that she lived in Aspen.
No.
She just said she was going to Aspen.
I thought about this. Like,
so if she's just visiting Aspen, then she wouldn't be in the phone book.
Yeah. Now, I mean, like, she could visit someone in Aspen with the same last name, but that person could be unlisted too.
Yeah.
But she never actually said she lived there. So
but apparently,
that would be another reason not to see the name.
Apparently, she has her family home in Aspen. You know, her ancestral home, I guess, because it's the big place on Alpine Boulevard. Yeah, we find out later.
Anyway, so the boys decide that, you know, they're going to go to one of the top resorts there in Aspen.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up
in the presidential suite.
The presidential suite, which is reserved for dignitaries and all such things. And
high-class actors and of stage and screen.
We'll take it. You know, and then it goes through a whole montage where they get manicures and pedicures.
Well,
and
that's
hair done.
That's later. That's a little bit later. But first, they go and they buy a Lamborghini Countach.
First thing they do is they actually get a car. Too.
Yeah, they buy a Lamborghini Countach, and they go on a shopping spree.
By the way,
no, not a bad choice at all.
When they're there,
maybe a bad choice for driving in the mountains.
Yeah, rear-wheel drive in the mountains is not the best. But guess what? There's rich fuckers up there. They don't care.
Yeah.
So you see rich people with,
and they buy all new clothes, and they get out of there, and they're all the bus boys are picking up their luggage.
They see a thing in the paper, right, about the dinner, about the event with the owls.
Yes,
and he sees your picture in there. It's like, oh, it is Swanson, and it's like, okay, well, we got to get. That's when they decide they need to get dressed up and do all that. Yeah, right.
So this is when they go through their montage of, you know, getting mani-pedis and getting their hair done and all this. And and Lloyd's toenails are so nasty that, you know, a regular nail file won't work, so they got to bring out a grinder.
Sparks are flying. It's shorting out.
And then Lloyd, you know, is trying on different tuxes, and he's like, he looks like a little kid who's being forced to dress up. He's just like, looks all disappointed. He's like, this frown on his face, and then, you know, they go through 3 or 4 tuxes, and then finally,
Taylor is very excited. He's like, this guy looks nice in this.
Yeah, he does. He does look nice in these tuxes.
He does.
But yeah, he's all look frumpy, and
Harry's like, no.
Yeah, then Jeff Daniels is sitting there. He's sitting in the chair, like, as he's coming out. He's like telling him yes or no. He's like, no. And then Lloyd comes dancing out wearing this orange tux.
Leisure suit.
Orange tux with a frilly shirt. And Harry stands up, starts clapping. He's like, that's the one. And then we get the
He
fundraiser.
said yes to the dress.
He said yes to the dress. And so we get them showing up to the fundraiser. And
now
Lloyd is Harry in his orange tux. And Harry has
powder blue.
Yes. Harry has a matching tux in powder blue. And they both have matching canes. Top hats that match their tuxes, and they have canes that are the same color as their tuxes.
And they're sword fighting with the canes, because I would sword fight with the cane. I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
If I was on a Titanic, I'd have a top hat, and I would sword fight with the cane as that ship went down.
And then as they're walking in, Harry picks up his cane like it's a baseball bat, and he just hits Lloyd right across the back of the legs. And they get greeted by Nicholas Andre.
He's like, this is a $500 a plate dinner.
And so Lloyd reaches his pocket, pulls out a wad of cash, hands it to Harry. Harry's like, well, put us down for $4.
We might get
He's like, and
seconds.
then Larry's like, yeah, in case we want seconds.
And, and Andre, he doesn't know what to think. And then Shay is kind of in the background. We don't see her yet until now. And she comes and like, those are the guys.
Mm-hmm. Those are the guys that killed Mental.
He's like, what? And so meanwhile, they're standing back at the bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a few drinks. And then...
Yeah, they order a couple martinis. And...
Yes.
So once Lloyd is handed his martini, he just downs it. He just gulps it. And Harry's like...
And he's nervous because he really wants
what's wrong, Lloyd? You seem nervous. And he's like, yeah, there she is. And Harry's like, wow, she's beautiful.
He hasn't seen her yet. He's heard about her. He hasn't seen her.
Yeah.
And that's what he's like. It's like, feeling when you see someone and you do anything just to bone them. It's like, that's a special feeling.
Yeah, it's a special feeling. So then Lloyd's like, hey, I got an idea. How about, well, Harry's like, what? Well, you just go talk to her. And Lloyd's like, I got a better idea. How about you go over there and you introduce yourself and then you could talk me up.
And so before they do that, though, that's when like her father talks about the snow owls.
Yes.
It's like, you have a good evening because that's about the Icelandic snow owls.
Yeah. They have.
And there's two of them. They represent 1/7 of the population
of the Earth, like 1/7 of the population of the Icelandic snow owls left on Earth.
They cuts back to them and talk about, like how you go talk to her, and talk me up, so that way I don't feel like I have to brag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that way I don't feel like I have to brag later.
Tell her I have a rapist wit.
Tell her I have a rapist wit. A rapist wit.
So
tell her I'm rich and handsome and have a rapist wit.
He agrees that he'll go over and talk with her. He goes up. He's like, nice shooters.
No. First he's like, then what'll you do? And he's like, yeah, go talk to her. Then Harry's like, well, what do you do? He's like, I'll hang by the bar. Put out the vibe.
I love.
And he's like leaning up on the bar,
and he's sticking out his ass.
Yeah, like pulling his suit and jacket up a little bit so his ass is showing. Yeah, Harry walks up to Mary, and she's looking at the owls, and he just walks up next to her. He's like, "Nice hooters you got there." And she's like, "What?"
And she's like, "What?"
She's like, "The owls.
The owl.
They're beautiful."
She's like, yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Do you like birds? And he's like, well, I used to have a parakeet, but now I'm more into canines. Dogs, for the layperson.
And she's laughing at us because he actually pulls it off well.
Yes.
Like, it seems like he's just this dude that's like being intentionally funny and stupid. Hey, dogs, like, it's like, yeah, I breed them. It's like, oh, anything interesting? It's like, well, we once successfully made it Shih Tzu with a bulldog.
Yeah, we once successfully bred a bulldog and a Shih Tzu. We call it a bullshit.
Like, really? He starts laughing. She chuckles at it, right? And then her stepmother comes over, played by Terry Garr. It's like, well, why don't you introduce me to your friend? She's her stepmother is a typical, 1% housewife that's a drunk he's drunk. And it's like, yeah, she doesn't get out of the house anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, she could just really use a day out on the slopes. Yeah. She's trying to set them up.
Yeah. So,
which is strange because she still thinks her husband's alive.
Yeah.
And her stepmother's trying to set her up on a date.
Yeah. So anyway, they both agree to meet up on the slopes the next day. And
before that, he's trying to bring Lloyd into it, but he just gives in.
Yeah. He's like, I need to introduce you to my friend, and then that's when Terry Garr showed up. And she's like, oh, Don't worry about your friend. He'll be okay.
He's like, I wanted to meet you the first minute I saw you walk in. He's like, okay. And they set up a date for the next day to go on the slopes. And Harry, he walks back. He's like, oh, you're set up. You're golden.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't come get me. He's like, no, it's okay. You're golden. I got you a date with her tomorrow.
And he's thankful, as he should be.
Yeah.
So he ends up telling, eventually, as you find out, that, it's supposed to be at 10 a.m.
At the lobby bar.
At the hotel bar.
And where's that? It's in the lobby. So the lobby bar in the lobby. Got it. Meanwhile, Harry is while he's telling Lloyd that he's supposed to meet Mary at the lobby bar in the lobby, Harry is getting ready to go to the slopes and do some skiing with Mary.
Yes. And he gets in, he's got his ski jacket on. He gets back in the Lamborghini, drives to her house.
No, he doesn't have he doesn't have his ski jacket on because she's already at the slopes. She's at the lodge. That's and he meets her there, and he's like in his professional downhill skiing.
That's right.
Yes. Spandex with a giant helmet, with a giant aerodynamic helmet. He walks in, makes her, and she starts laughing because he looks ridiculous.
He knocks over all the skis.
Yep.
In the lodge, and they have a great day.
Yeah, they have a great day. They're skiing. He gets his tongue stuck to the one of the poles on the ski lift. She
goes off to go down the hill for a while.
And he's
brother and
still
sister, they get on the lift. And like, would you have a glass of warm water?
Yeah, later on when she's done skiing, she sees him still stuck to the thing, so she rips his tongue off of there.
And they still have a good day.
Yeah.
They build a snowman.
Yeah, they build a snowman.
She gives him a carrot and some coal.
And he makes
he gives the snowman some cock and balls.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she sees it and laughs and pulls it out of there and puts it in its face for eyes and a nose. And then he gets this look on his face like, oh.
They have a little snowball fight. They have a great day, and she thanks him at the end.
They have a little snowball fight. She playfully tosses some snow at him, and so he makes a snowball and pelts it at her face from 2 feet away, and then attacks her, tackles her, rams her face into the snow, buries her face in the snow, and then she gets up. She's got tears in her eyes. And he puts his hands up like he's going to, he wants to fight. And she just starts laughing at him because he looks ridiculous again.
And he puts up his hands ah!
And then they continue to have a great day.
You know what? This is exactly what I needed. So meanwhile, this entire time, Lloyd gets down to the bar. He goes in, and the bartender is starting to take stools
off the tables
bar and off the tables. So we don't open for another 30 minutes.
45. He's like, sorry, we don't open for another 45 minutes. And Lloyd's like, oh, I'm meeting somebody here. Is it all right if I just hang out the bar? He's like, ah, sure. Pull up a chair.
And then the lady that we met earlier at the gas station.
So Lloyd is still sitting there. He's got a couple empty beer bottles in front of him.
She didn't show up yet.
And he looks at his watch. He's like,
it's 1 o'clock.
He's like, is it 10 a.m. yet? And the bartender is like, it's 1. He's like, yeah, that's what I got too. I thought maybe it was fast. And he's like,
is she late? She's like, yeah, she's late. 3 hours.
He's like, yeah, just a couple hours. Women, they
always gotta be perfect.
Always gotta have everything perfect. He's like, so the bartender's like, yeah. Well, he pulls out a beer, opens it up. He's like, this one's on me.
What a nice bartender.
Yeah. But Lloyd's like, thanks. And then the woman from the gas station shows up, sits down next to Lloyd, starts going on and on.
about her boyfriend,
about her ex-boyfriend, and you can tell it kind of jumps forward a little bit in time, and she's still there. There's a couple more bottles in front of Lloyd, and he just like puts his head down in his arms. And he's like, I don't care.
Good on you, Lloyd. Good for you for saying it. And he goes to the bartender. He's like, do you know Mary Swanson?
And the bartender's like, yeah, she's in here all the time. And he grabs the bartender. He's like, what's that supposed to mean? He's like, she has dinner. He's like, oh, okay. Do you know where she lives? It's like, yeah, her family's got the big place on Alpine Boulevard. It's like, big place on Alpine Boulevard. Thanks. He gets up, walks out. So there's a newspaper. There's a newspaper framed by the door.
That's right. Man lands on the
moon. Man lands on the moon. Or man walks on moon. And, it's a newspaper from, the moon landing.
From 1969.
And so Lloyd stops and he sees it. He's like, no way. And he gets all excited. He goes outside. He's like, we landed on the moon.
Like, I get to break this to everybody.
Meanwhile, the bartender just it looks like this guy's crazy. And
anyway, so Lloyd goes over to the house, and he gets there.
First Lloyd is in. Oh yeah, that's right. Lloyd goes over to the house, and just as Harry is dropping Mary off in the Lamborghini, and she
feels betrayed.
Yeah, but she's like, "So you're gonna pick me up at 7:45?" It's like, "Well, I was thinking more like 7:45. She's laughing. She's like, okay. He's like, okay, 7:45. And so she gets out, goes inside, and then, just as Lloyd's walking up from the other side of the house, sees Harry backing out of the driveway. And then he starts crying.
He's betrayed.
He feels betrayed. And so next thing we know, Harry and Lloyd are both back in their hotel room. Lloyd's going on and like, I waited for hours for her. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why she stood me up. And Harry's like, well, maybe she meant 10 p.m. And Lloyd's like,
why would she ask you at 10 a.m.?
You're right. Why? And Harry's like, well, yeah, why would anybody want to meet at a bar at 10 a.m.? And Lloyd's like, I just figured
she was a raging alcoholic.
I just thought she was a raging alcoholic. Oh, and just think, I've spent all day in terrible pain and anguish for nothing. Harry's like, all right, well, you have fun on your date. I'm just going to go. I think I'm going to go out and catch a flick. So he goes to get dressed, and Lloyd gets up, goes over to a little bar in the room, and pours some coffee in a couple of cups. And he's like, hey, Harry, before we go out, let's just do a toast. A good luck toast. And so he pulls out a bottle of Turbo laxatives. Yes. And
it says just says like a teaspoon is all I need.
Half a teaspoon, and he pours half the bottle into Harry's cup.
I love how he puts a little bit in.
Yep, he pours about a half a teaspoon in, and then he just pours the rest of the bottle in. And then Harry comes out. They do a little toast, and they both drink up. And then
I love how Harry's not drinking all of it. And Lloyd just puts his hand out.
Puts his hand out and starts like raising up the cup to tipping it up.
So Harry leaves to go, and he's in the Lamborghini. Then
he feels
Lloyd gets into the hog. He's just laughing.
He gets in the hog. He's just laughing.
I love what Harry's wearing here because he's got the bolo tie.
Yes,
and he's got the bolo tassels on his nipples.
Yes. He's got nipple tassels on his shirt.
Anyway, he gets there, and Mary lets him in, and then
as he's driving, he feels a stirring in his stomach.
Yes, as he's driving, he does.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets in the house, and
he gets in there, and she calls on the intercom. She's like, "Come on in, I'm almost ready." And so he walks in there, and she's like, "I'm upstairs." And so he goes upstairs, and she comes out. She's like, "Okay, I'll be ready in just a minute. Make yourself at home." And he's looking for a bathroom.
All of a sudden, the rumbles
rumbles start coming. So he's looking for a bathroom.
All over.
He tries a couple doors that are locked, and he opens up another one, and it's the bathroom. So he goes in there.
It's a black toilet.
He barely gets his pants down before he just starts just dumping in the toilet. Just dumping. Like he's lifting his legs up. He's screaming.
He is shaking.
He is releasing his demons into this toilet.
I love when Foley cuts to them. He's loosened a little bit of his power grip, and his head goes down. He's like, ah.
And then Mary comes walking by. She's like, I hope you're not using the toilet. It's broken.
Well, before that, he's kind of done. He's kind of done first. He's a bit relieved. He knows there's a little bit more left in there.
Yep.
He lets out a few parts. He's like, but he's like, ah. he goes over. He opens up the window. He fans it out
fanning it out of the window.
And that's when he gets knocked. Like, I hope you're not using the toilet. He's like, what?
Yeah, the toilet's broken. He's like, it's okay. I'm just shaving.
She's like, what?
Be right out. I'm just shaving. And this is a part that's a little bit longer in the unrated cut also.
Okay.
So that's about where it ends in the theatrical. But there's a little bit more of him trying to get rid of it. So after he's done pooping in the unrated cut, he actually ends up picking the toilet up, like getting it off the floor and trying to dump it out the window. He tries to dump the contents of the toilet out the window. Meanwhile, Mary comes up and she asks him about it again, like while the noise is like, I'm gargling. So then Lloyd shows up.
Well, before that, she's in the kitchen with the maid, and a current affair is on.
Yes, that's right. About the little boy.
And at first,
little blind boy.
Or they're talking about the Menendez brothers. But first, we need to talk about a little boy in Rhode Island who sold a dead bird. I just thought
he was real quiet.
Who are these sick people? And then Lloyd
shows up.
He's like, remember me?
I got your briefcase. He's like, you have it? He's like, yeah, it's back in my hotel room. So she goes up to the bathroom where Harry is, and she's like, hey, Harry, sorry, I have to cancel. I gotta go. Something came up. It's kind of an emergency. I gotta go. So Lloyd takes her back to the hotel and takes her to the briefcase, and it's sitting on the...
They're racing up the steps. He's like, racing up the steps.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They get to the hotel. It's like, race you to the top. So Lloyd starts running, and Mary starts running up there, and then Lloyd trips her.
So he trips her.
He trips, and then he trips her, and then he climbs up.
Down.
Yeah, so then they get to the room, and he's showing her the briefcase, and she's like, "Oh, thank you." And then she's in the bathroom for some reason. Maybe
I don't get this. Why is she in the bathroom?
Maybe because her toilet was broken, and Harry was occupying it.
Hey,
so maybe she didn't get to go to the bathroom before she left.
She needs to change a few products.
Maybe, but yeah, while she's in the bathroom, Lloyd is outside, out sitting on the bed talking. He's like, "You're the love of my life." From the moment I saw you,
his lines.
He's like, it's going on and on. He's like, "I love you, Mary," and then he starts like pretending to make out with her.
Yeah.
And then she comes walking out of the bathroom. He's like, "So what?" He's like, "Oh, did you say something?" He's like, "Nope, I didn't." He's like, "Oh, I thought I heard you talking to somebody out here." He's like, "Nope."
But he doesn't. He cuts straight to the chase.
Yes, he cuts straight to the chase, and he's like, "Mary." No. Because one of the things when he was rehearsing was, "You make me feel like a schoolboy. I want to make sweet love to you." And when he's talking to her, he's like, "I want to make love to a schoolboy." She's like, "What?"
Maybe I should leave.
He's like, "No. That's not what I meant. Mary, I like you. I like you a lot."
I love it. Forrest Gump only came out like 6 months before this movie.
I like you a lot. And then he's like, "So what are the chances of a guy like you and a girl like me being together?"
Like,
and she's like, well, not good.
It's like, well, like 1,000 to 1.
No, he's like, so like 1 out of 100? And she's like, more like 1 out of 1,000,000. And he's like, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Yes.
And then there's a knock on the door.
He opens the door. He's like, we have enough towels.
Yeah. And it's Nicholas Andre. And he's like, oh, we have enough towels. Thanks. And Andre pulls a gun on him.
And Mary sees it. It's like, oh, what? Andre?
Oh, no. Actually, no, he doesn't pull the gun yet. He's like, Mary, I have news about your husband. And Lloyd is like, husband? What was all that 1 in a million talk? Then he pulls the gun on him, and he's going on about he's the one that kidnapped her husband, and he wants the money. And did he open the briefcase yet, or is that after? Does Harry get there first? No. Yeah, Harry gets there first. So yeah, Harry comes back to the hotel, and he's walking in, and he gets stopped by the FBI, by the woman that he met at the gas station.
Correct.
And so a little bit later,
he gets back up in the room. Before he gets to the room, he kind of takes a moment to breathe about what's happening.
Yeah. So
now this whole time, we don't know how he officially handled the shit in the potty.
No.
Did he leave it there?
Well, I mean, if you watch the unrated cut, he just dumped it out the window.
Anyhow, so he gets in and he walks in. And he sees him there, and they're both handcuffed.
Yeah, they're handcuffed to the bed. And so Andre gets Harry to go over and sit down on the bed next to him, and he's got them all at gunpoint. And then he walks over and he opens up the briefcase, and he sees a bunch of IOUs. There's no money. He just sees a bunch of IOUs. And so Harry and Lloyd are like, he's like, where's the money? He's like, that's just as good as money. Those are IOUs. Every cent is accounted for.
It's like, he picks up one, and it's for the Lamborghini.
Yeah, he's like,
$250,000. See that?
That's a car. You're going to want to hold on
to that one. But eventually, Harry and Lloyd, they start bickering with each other. And he has to figure out, all right, who am I going to kill first?
And then Lloyd's like, kill me. I got you into this, Harry. It's my fault. Kill me. And Harry's like, no, kill me. And Lloyd's like, no, kill me. And Harry's like, I stole your girl. We went skiing and we had a great time. She laughed. She touched my leg.
Fine, kill him.
Yeah, and Lloyd's like, fine, kill him. So Andre shoots him twice in the chest, and Harry falls back onto the bed. And Lloyd is like,
Mary is horrified by this. You killed my best friend. It's like, don't worry. You'll soon be joining him.
Yep.
And then the FBI storms in.
Well, no, first he's about to shoot Lloyd, and Harry pops up, and he's got a gun, and he starts shooting. He's got a little revolver, and he shoots all 6 shots just all around Andre, like above his head, and just a little arc going up over him.
You're alive.
And you're a terrible shot. And then
that's Andre's about to shoot.
Yeah, then Andre's about to shoot Lloyd, and then the FBI comes in, and they arrest Andre, and
Harry's like, I saw them down in the lobby.
Lloyd's like, what's going on here? And Harry's like, oh yeah, they stopped me down in the lobby, and they explained what was going on,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So I caught them in the lobby, and they told me everything, and they put a bulletproof vest on me.
Yeah, they slapped this bulletproof vest on me and gave me a gun. Lloyd's like, I didn't get a gun.
What if he shot you in the face? Yeah.
What if he shot me in the face?
Shot me in the face.
Like, that was a risk we were willing to take. And then, and Lloyd's like, you got a gun? I didn't get a gun. He looks at Mary. He's like, did you get a gun? She just shakes her head.
And they leave.
They're outside, and there's cop cars. They're arresting Shay and Andre.
Shay as well as arrested.
And so they're all standing outside, and then Mary's husband gets out of the cop car. Comes out of it. He's wrapped in a blanket.
Bobby.
Yeah. And so then Mary's talking to him, and she's like, I have to introduce you to this very special man. And then Lloyd pulls out a gun, and he just starts shooting Bobby.
It's like Carl Winslow.
Yes.
Shooting Carl.
Yes. Like Al Powell shooting Carl. He just keeps on shooting. But no, it's a daydream. Because then we hear, Lloyd. And he snaps out of it, and Mary is there introducing Lloyd to her husband. And he's just like,
quite a grip he got there.
Yeah, he like shakes his hand. He's just squeezing. He's like, quite a grip he got there. He's like, I'm so happy for you.
But he's like, I owe you both a lot of debt of my gratitude, right? I owe you both a lot. Then we cut. we're now
cut, and they're now
walking alongside the road.
Walking alongside the road, and a bus pulls
Cops
up.
took the Lamborghini.
Yep, too
Good
bad.
luck with nothing again.
Yep. So they're walking on the side of the road. They had a bus comes up. It says Hawaiian Tropic on the side, and it stops, and these bikini-clad babes come out.
Some come out the door. Some look out the window, and you hear the
hallelujah, hallelujah. And they're like, "Hey guys, we're looking for 2 men to travel around the country with us and on our tour and
lotion us up.
Yeah, and rub oil all over us before our shows."
Would you know anyone that's interested?
And so like, well, you're in luck. There's a town about 2 miles that way. And I'm sure you'll be able to find a couple of guys there.
They kind of look at them like,
okay. Thanks. So they get back on the bus and they start pulling forward. And then Lloyd is like, Harry!
And Lloyd's like,
do you understand what you've done? And they run up there. He gets the bus's attention again, and it stops. And they pop out of the door again. And he's like, you've got to forgive my friend. He's a little slow. The town's back that way.
And they're like, okay.
Okay, so then the bus is, it's turned around and it's going the other direction. And Lloyd's like, wow, 2 lucky guys are going to be driving around the country with those women for the next couple of months. And Harry's like, yeah, don't worry, buddy. We'll catch our break soon.
And then the credits roll.
And then they're walking and the credits roll. This movie, I love this movie so much.
I love this movie too.
I love this movie so much. It is so funny.
It's hilarious. I could watch it whenever. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite comedies.
Yep.
So glad we finally did it.
Me too.
And actually, it's kind of perfect. Like, I don't think we kind of thought about it, but it's a movie that takes place half of it takes place in the mountains at a ski resort.
Yep.
In the winter.
Yep.
And we're in the winter, so it lines up well with the time of year.
Yes, it does. So there's so much in this movie to talk about. So I'm sure we've forgotten things. I'm sure we missed.
We almost forgot about the
whole dream sequence,
which is a major part of the movie.
Yes, it is. But anyway, anything else that you want to add?
No,
other than the soundtrack for this movie, like we said,
soundtrack is great. And like I made some other notes about some of the stuff, and I think we still hit most of it. So yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. It is Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. The and is spelled out. It's not an ampersand like it is the name of the podcast. We're also on X or Twitter. That is RNT Cinematic. We are on Letterboxd if you want to check out our reviews of various movies. That is Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, CINE Adventure. And then you can also send us an email at robandtonyscinematicadventure@gmail.com. Once again, the and is spelled out. It's not an ampersand like it is in the name of the podcast. So, let us know. What do you think about Dumb and Dumber? Do you love it? Do you hate it? It seems to be one of those movies that you either love or hate.
Yes.
There's not really much in between on this one. But yeah, do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it your favorite comedy? Is it almost your favorite comedy? Is it your top 5, top 10? Whatever.
And if it's not, is there another Jim Carrey movie that you like a lot more than this one?
Yeah.
It could be Ace Ventura. It could be Bruce Almighty.
Yeah. Or is there another Jeff Daniels movie you prefer?
Yes. One we haven't mentioned. We've talked about Speed. Let us know. So, not Speed.
Let us know.
Yeah.
And if there's other movies that you think that we should cover on the podcast, let us know that too. If there's a movie you don't think we should cover, we want to know. We want to hear from you. We want to be able to give you
what you want
to hear. We want to be able to have some discussions that will be pleasing to your ears.
I think that's one of the reasons we did Dumb and Dumber today too, because we realized it's been a while since we've done a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
We've done The Hangover and a few others, but it's really been a while since a full comedy.
So, we needed to do a comedy.
The next movie is kind of a comedy.
Yes, it is. Our next movie is another comedy.
It has one of the greatest comedic actors that you can find.
But before we get to that, though, if you enjoy what you're hearing, then go to our social media, give us a like and a follow, go to your favorite podcast app, subscribe, give us a good rating, a good review. That's how we move up in the standings and the ratings and the rankings and the search, all that stuff, so that we can reach more ears. But yes, our next movie is going to be another comedy. Not quite so much as just a straight up comedy like this one was, but it stars Bill Murray.
It's got Bill Murray. I mean, come on.
And you can probably guess what movie we're talking about because of
it's very appropriate to the time of year.
Because of the, somewhat holiday that is coming up on February 2nd, known as Groundhog Day. So in honor of Groundhog Day, we are going to be talking about the movie Groundhog Day. So this episode will come out a few days before. So, you can listen to it just before Groundhog Day, or you can listen to it on Groundhog Day if you want to.
Or you can do both. Listen to it.
Or you can do
when
both.
It's released and on Groundhog Day.
Yes, absolutely. So it has been a few years since I've seen this movie. And before that, it had been probably at least a decade or two, or decade and a half since I'd seen it.
It's been at least a decade for me.
Before that. So it'll be great to revisit it and to, be able to discuss it. So join us next time for Groundhog Day.